In the cold, restless waters of the North Atlantic, during the height of the European theater of World War II, a silent predator moved beneath the surface, waiting patiently for its chance to strike. This predator was U-32, a German Type 7 submarine, commanded by Hans Jenisch, a man whose name would soon become a chilling whisper among Allied sailors. From inside the steel confines of his vessel, Jenisch observed a struggling figure on the distant horizon. It was the RMS Empress of Britain, a massive Canadian ocean liner turned troop carrier, heavily damaged by German aircraft. Flames rose from her decks as she was towed toward safety by Allied tugs, her defenders hoping to save the enormous ship from destruction. Yet unseen and undeterred, U-32 was maneuvering into position, ready to etch another victory into the annals of the Kriegsmarine. With calm precision, Jenisch's fingers hovered over the torpedo release mechanism, prepared to deliver the fatal blow. The outcome seemed inevitable. The Allies stood on the brink of losing their largest ship to the merciless efficiency of the U-boats. Hans Jenisch's journey to this moment had begun long before. Born in 1913, he had entered naval service aboard the cruiser Deutschland, a vessel that demanded discipline and toughness. For Jenisch, it was the perfect training ground, sharpening his skills and nurturing his natural instincts for the sea. Though his early career was forged on the decks of a cruiser, destiny soon led him to the infamous U-boat arm of the newly formed Kriegsmarine. In 1937, with the world edging toward global conflict, Jenisch joined U-32. This submarine was among the first of the Type 7 class, later reclassified as a Type VIIA, and it represented the cutting edge of German engineering. At 616 tons surfaced, and 733 submerged, the vessel carried 11 torpedoes in 4 bow tubes and could reach 17.7 knots on the surface, or 8 knots submerged. Thanks to her powerful Germaniaft diesel engines, U-32 was built to stalk the seas with deadly precision, and under the command of men like Jenisch, it became one of the most formidable weapons in Germany's naval arsenal. When war erupted in 1939, Jenisch served as second-in-command under Captain Werner Lott. Together, they forged a partnership that proved highly effective. But in February 1940, Jenisch was handed his own command of U-32, and the new Kapitän Lieutenant was determined to carve his name into history. On March 2nd, during his very first patrol as commander, he sent the Swedish motor vessel Lagoholm to the bottom of the ocean. This was only the beginning. In the months that followed, Jenisch and his crew of 35 men launched a string of devastating attacks, amassing a tally of sunken ships that struck terror into the Allied fleet. On June 18, 1940, during his 4th patrol, he sank the American destroyer USS Altair and 2 Spanish trawlers, Neuerborns and Salbora. Within just 24 hours, 2 more vessels, Labude and Eli Knudsen, were also destroyed. By the end of that patrol, Jenisch was credited with sinking over 16,000 gross register tons of shipping, proving himself as one of Germany's most lethal U-boat commanders. His success only grew. In late August 1940, Jenisch targeted the Royal Navy light cruiser, HMS Fiji. The cruiser was on its way to participate in Operation Menace, the Allied plan to seize Dakar in French West Africa. But before it could reach its destination, Jenisch's torpedo slammed into its hull. Severely damaged, Fiji was forced to limp back to Britain for repairs that would take months, robbing the Allies of its services. By this time, U-boats had become one of the greatest threats to Allied operations, and whispers of Hans Jenisch's audacity spread across the seas. Allied sailors spoke in hushed voices of the German commander and his deadly submarine, a force that seemed to appear out of nowhere, strike without warning, and vanish into the depths. The legend of Jenisch and U-32 grew even darker in October 1940. On the night of the 24th, he once again led his crew into the stormy waters of the Atlantic. 2 days later came the news that the Empress of Britain had been mauled by German aircraft while on her voyage from Egypt to Liverpool. Her decks burned, but she remained afloat, her crew and escorts fighting desperately to save her. At over 42,000 gross register tons. She was a colossal prize, the largest liner operated by Canada. And now she was vulnerable. Jenisch seized the opportunity. With skillful maneuvering, he brought U-32 undetected into striking range, despite Allied sea patrolling overhead. On the evening of October 27th, the towering masts of the Empress came into view. Breaking through the defensive cordon, Jenisch fired 3 torpedoes. Seconds later, massive explosions tore through the already stricken liner. Within just 10 minutes, the once mighty Empress of Britain rolled over and slid beneath the icy waves of the Atlantic, taking her place in history as the largest ship ever sunk by a U-boat. For Jenisch, it was the crowning moment of his career. From the deck of U-32, he watched as the flames and wreckage faded into the sea, a silent witness to his most famous victory. But fate is often cruel. Only days later, on October 30th, U-32 encountered what appeared to be a lone steamer. Believing it to be a straggler from a convoy, Jenisch gave chase. The submarine shadowed its target for hours, weaving through turbulent seas. Suddenly, the steamer broadcast a distress signal. Responding to the call were the British destroyers Harvester and Highlander, both equipped with the latest in anti-submarine warfare. The hunters had become the hunted. With ruthless precision, the destroyers launched depth charges that thundered through the Atlantic, hammering U-32. The blasts cracked her hull, water flooded in, and the aft section filled quickly. Power failed, plunging the submarine into darkness while compressed air hissed through the compartments, choking the crew. Against the odds, Jenisch forced the U-boat to surface. In desperation, he fired a torpedo toward his attackers, but the shot went wide. The destroyers opened fire, their guns blazing, turning the night into a storm of fire and steel. Inside U-32, chaos reigned as the rudder jammed and water poured in. Realizing the end had come, Jenisch ordered the crew to abandon ship. He and Chief Engineer Anton Thym supervised the evacuation before leaving the submarine themselves. U-32 rose one final time, her bow pointing defiantly skyward, before slipping beneath the waves forever. Consumed by the depths she once ruled. The survivors floated helplessly in the freezing water until their former pursuers turned saviors. Harvester and Highlander pulled them from the sea. Among them, Hans Jenisch and Anton Thym. To their surprise, the British treated the men with respect. Taken prisoner, Jenisch and his crew were sent to POW camps in England and later Canada. For 6.5 years, Jenisch endured captivity, during which he befriended Wilfried Prellberg, the former commander of U-31. Together, they passed countless hours reflecting on naval strategy, recalling victories, and analyzing their defeats. Though he had commanded one of the deadliest weapons of the war, Jenisch came to view submarines as relics of a past age, calling their use in combat obsolete. When the war finally ended, Jenisch returned to Germany. In 1956, he joined the newly formed Bundesmarine of West Germany, serving in multiple posts and ultimately dedicating his later years to training the next generation of naval officers, rising to the rank of Kapitän zur See. He retired in 1972. His career left behind an extraordinary record, across 7 patrols. He and his crew sank 17 ships and damaged 3 more. A total of over 110,000 gross register tons, securing his place as a World War II U-boat ace. He had been both hunter and hunted, a symbol of fear on the Atlantic waves, and a man whose story captured both the triumphs and tragedies of submarine warfare. Thank you for watching our Black Vault video. We invite you to continue exploring with us as we uncover more gripping tales from the seas and beyond. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all our newest content across the Dark Documentaries channels. More stories await, and the ocean holds countless secrets yet to be revealed.